Hello, 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 fellow teachers. Thanks for joining me today. This is sort of like a reflective journal of teaching during the pandemic, and I wanted to share some of the things that I'm learning as well. So this will be about addressing interesting behaviors while teaching special education at a virtual school during a pandemic. All right, so our warm up today is share out one of your favorite teaching memes via our class whiteboard. You don't scare me. I'm a special education teacher. I've heard it all, seen it all, and written a goal for it. So that's one of my favorite memes. A lot of times if I'm really discouraged, sometimes I'll read those memes at the end of the week and then I'll feel refreshed. I'm like, okay, I'm not alone in this. All right. So our agenda today, we did our warm up. Woo woo, good job. We're going to talk about a problem of practice, motivations and functions of behavior, types of virtual behaviors, interventions and alternatives, and the ticket out the door. Oopsies. All right, so our school has a new platform. The platform is New Real. Prior to that, we were using Blackboard. With Blackboard, there was very little interaction. Now with New Real, we have noticed some interesting behaviors with some of our middle schoolers. I teach special education, and this is what I'm noticing that the students are now encouraged to express themselves more via the new platform. And with that, students are engaging in a virtual pecking order via chat banter. All right, so I wanted to talk about problem of practice. I'm currently taking a class at Hugsy, and we talk about problems of practice. So I'm trying to integrate what I'm learning and integrating it to my own practice and to help me grow and learn as a teacher. Here's a meme, problem solving. It's that simple. All right, so you identify the problem, you brainstorm, you solidify with your peers, break down a theory of action, and apply. Then we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when I'm looking at behavior, I look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those physiological needs, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. All right, other functions of behavior, sensory, escape, attention, and tangible. Sensory. I have several students who are on the autism spectrum, so that is one thing that I try to keep in mind when I'm looking at those virtual behaviors. Escape is avoidance of doing schoolwork, attention. They want that attention from peers or teachers, and tangibles. For example, in brick and mortar school, I had a lot of students who might be hungry during the day, might need an extra snack or whatever, and I'd have like a mini fridge um, and try to see what's going on, make sure they have their tangibles. It also could be like they need their headphones if it's too noisy. So we need to look at all those reasons why that the behavior is happening. All right, so I'm looking for patterns. I've been trying to look at patterns so I can look at root cause and help facilitate some of those pro-social behaviors. Um, here are some patterns that I've noticed. Most of the students who are acting out virtually are also new to our virtual school. Um, Also, they acted out at brick and mortar school, as is noted for their IEP records and student counseling services. Some virtual behaviors. I'm in the process of being an observer as well as looking for patterns. Again, I'm starting to name the behaviors as a way to make sense of them. Here are some patterns that I'm seeing, and they can be categorized as follows: the board jumper, the muter, the scribbler, the chat spammer, the ghoster, the blurter, the virtual villain, and the talking forehead. It sort of reminded me a little bit of like Joseph Campbell's archetypes in a way. So I want to explore that more in the upcoming weeks. But I'm just going to plant that seed and record this so I can remember that I had that connection. All right, so the board jumper is a breakout room jumper. With this platform, the students are automatically made moderators when they go to breakout rooms. A couple of our students are starting to jump rooms, either to socialize or disrupt students. So this can be tricky as there's only one teacher for so many students. I try to rotate through all the breakout rooms and talk with each student. Teachers are also supposed to take snippets and screenshots of work samples for IEP data. All right. Whoopsies. All right, so the muter is a student who likes to mute both fellow students and the teacher. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw that one of our students muted a colleague of mine and me in a breakout room. I was like, how clever is that? Um, I may have done something like that in middle school as well. Some options are to have the student stay in the main room, but we have about a handful of students who are showing some challenging behaviors. So that would be a little tricky as well. Also, another tricky thing with teaching virtual is all your classes are recorded and families can see them at any time as well as school administrators. With this student, what I did is I made required office hours and tried to build more rapport, give the student more attention. I realized that this student needed a lot more attention, and so I gave him more attention, built that rapport, and now he's stopped meeting my colleagues and I and his friends as well. All right, you get a mute, and you get a mute, and you get a mute. Everyone gets a mute. I thought that was funny. Yay. All right, then we have the scribbler. This is a little tricky for me because I'm a fine arts teacher. However, this year I'm teaching special education. I loved to doodle when I was a kid. I doodled in school, and even now I doodle at our faculty meetings. I need to have that kinesthetic stimulation, especially like when I'm sitting for a long time. I need to doodle or write on post-it notes or whatever. Um, so when I see the drawings from my students with special needs, I want to like look for deeper meaning. I'm also trained in art therapy. I want my students to tell me a story. That's what I usually do in brick and mortar because it's like, oh, okay, they're expressing themselves. I can connect with that student in a new way. But virtual world, they don't really give you a lot of time to connect with students. We have half hour sessions. Excuse me, I'm just gonna take a little sip. Some options are I've been teaching all day, so my voice is a little wonky. I apologize. Um, make time for makerspace education. So I added an extra hour to my schedule above and beyond of what we're supposed to do. But I wanted to do that for my students, and so I have that listen to your art time where students can share about their art. And then also I encourage my students to keep tactile objects near them, such as post-its, sketchbooks, Velcro, and spinners. Here's an example from a scribbler. All right, so then we have the chat spammer. The chat spammer fills up your chat with all kinds of things off topic. Some alternative behaviors, perhaps opening up a whiteboard tool for share outs, think pair shares, and back channels. When I taught in Gainesville, I would take classes at night and I would teach middle school during the day and then take graduate classes at night. A lot of us teachers would order a pizza, so we would like message each other back and forth, and that's called a back channel. And thankfully, our professor was pretty nice about it as long as we shared our pizza with her. Adding in time after class for sharing. A lot of our kids like the show and tell, so I'm gonna incorporate that more. And then today I was thinking about the chat. I'm like, wow, a lot of our kids are expressing themselves via chat more than they are actually finishing their assignments. So how can I use that tool to help me as a teacher to connect with my students more? So I thought about doing a lesson on dialogue writing via chat. And then one of my students said today that he liked to copy and paste in chat. That I also thought about maybe doing chat poetry or an emoji or code poems. I'm going to talk about some of these behaviors with my students next week to get their take on them as well, and I'll share that out. Here's some examples from our chat spammers. Lots of glorious smiley faces. Then we have some codes. I don't know what they mean. Lots of emojis. In our new row program, we have the room chat, we have Q&A, and we have moderator chat. The room chat is available for all. Q&A is just for the teacher and moderator if there's a moderator in the class with you, another fellow teacher. Oh, another thing is that as special education teachers, we're used to having paraeducators work with us in brick and mortar, and we don't have teaching assistants in the virtual setting. Sometimes we might like co-moderate to help out another teacher, but that's another interesting dynamic of teaching virtually. Then here's some examples of some prosocial behavior. One student said, "Sorry, I'm late." Another student is telling a student how to fix something. He says right click and then right click your mouse, and he's trying to help him sort through a technical issue. And I love it when my students help one another out. Also in special education, we do a lot of push-in, and we'll push into the GE classes. And I have a student who wrote, "Hi, Mrs. Gilly," and then he realized that he spelled my name wrong, and then he fixed it. I thought that was sweet. I love to get those sweet notes of hello when I'm in another class. But thankfully, he just kind of like says hi and that's it. So that's perfect. Then we have some students who will just like totally emoji span, talk about fruit salad. Ooh, that's delicious. Or you forgot the lettuce. Hee hee. I learned what the colon and the 3 means, like a coy smile. I thought that was interesting. And then we have students who are correcting their spelling, which is good. Then we have students that are totally off topic, such as "I want a dog." Excuse me, I have one student who said he chose not to talk anymore, and then he flipped a coin, and heads was not to talk. So he's choosing not to participate via mic, but he's letting his peers know via chat. He was trying to give an alternative to, we have some students who are trying to like, trying to hone in their peers and help them out to show prosocial behaviors. So he said, for someone who uses chat, microphone, polling, and participating, you should give them a point. After each month, whoever has the most points should get a gift card for Roblox or Target, which I thought was funny. One of my colleagues is giving out gift cards. That's not really my model to buy things for my students. Around the holidays, I will give them extra treats and stuff. But what I prefer is preferred activity time where we spend quality time, such as doing a fine art project together. That makes it tricky because also teachers are evaluated on how our students participate. So yeah, so that's an interesting one. Then we have some students talking about COVID-19. One student writes, "COVID-19 is the worst." And this was in a GE class that I was pushing in. And then one of her peers said, "Not to be rude or anything, but what does COVID-19 have to do with the LA?" And then she said, IDK, I don't know. So this lets me know that one of the students is really struggling with this. Most of my students are in the LA area. Excuse me. And so with the virtual school, what I'm noticing is that's pretty much business as usual. They've been virtual school for about 19 years. So we don't really talk about the pandemic as much, but I think that we do need to address these issues with our students and try to give more guidance to our students, and that we're like in a time teaching, it's called trauma teaching, and we really need to focus on some social emotional needs of our students. With the special ed model, we only have the kids for a half hour for each session, and we have a formula that we must follow. So the only time of socialization is during office hours. And so that's a bit tricky. And so what I'm noticing, one of my questions that I've been asking myself this year is, um, where's the heart of the virtual school? And what I'm learning is that the heart of the virtual school is off script. It's the place that you can express yourself. And so actually, if you look at it in a technical way, the chat probably is the heart of the classroom. At this point, students are expressing themselves. But as a teacher, then we're getting evaluated on how well our students engage and participate. And so we have to keep them, um, rein them in. And then I'm going to offer some more office hours as well. All right, here you have some smiley faces, more smiley faces. One of my students did a cheeseburger collage, and then unfortunately, one of my colleagues erased it. I was like, no, because I really like that cheeseburger collage. Um, I've been finding some of the teachers erasing the chat. I leave the chat because I think it's kind of like a good, like it's like our classroom story basically. So I'm leaving the chat up. All right, then we have the ghoster. The student probably most likely never comes to class. It is a student your admin keeps asking you to call. It is a student who signs in, but never turns on the camera or microphone. Even when you specifically ask the student to engage, they ghost. I like this. This is from Seinfeld. He goes, "Not participating today. No good grade for you." Some of my colleagues have come up with the MIA room, and that's a missing in action room where you put the kids who are not responding into a breakout room, see if they're having technical issues, try to connect with them. Adding those extra office hours and asking a parent or a grandparent to sit next to the child. All right, then we have our blurters. Raise your hand. No shouting out or blurting. So this is a student who impulsively jumps on the mic or shares out. He or she may interrupt the lesson or may interrupt their peers while speaking. Options, of course, to raise your hand, think pair shares, Q&A chat, a notepad if topic, make that segue connection back to topic. One of my professors asked me to keep a notebook of my questions and then had me email them to her. I thought it was a really cool class because it was like the neurology of students with special needs. And but apparently she wanted me to just email her the questions. Um okay, then we have the virtual villain. The student is one of the students who likes to stir things up. He or she will bully the other students and or the teacher. Some options: set limits, turn off the tool privileges. This again is a tricky one since teachers are evaluated on how their students engage. So if we turn off that tool, there's one less students that's engaging. However, if they're abusing it, it can be even worse for all the other students. Ask a parent or grandparent to sit next to the student during class. Collaborate with the student's counselor and hold an IEP to problem solve. Here's one of my cool meme I've found from the office. It says, "My classroom behavior management plan. Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy. Both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me." I thought that was a funny take on a Machiavellian question there. All right. Oh, here's one of my things from one of my virtual students who's acting like a virtual villain. He said, "Okay, then I will abuse the tools every time you give it to me. Give me it." So this student's not gonna have tools for a while. All right, then you have the talking foreheads. When you only see the student's forehead in the window, find out why. Is it medical? Some of my students with autism will self-stem and they need to move. Are there items beyond the student control? Like, for example, some family dynamics. Sometimes we'll turn on the screen and hear parents yelling in the background or siblings yelling. So, and, we need to look at those issues. Are they shy? Can we practice talking with each student? Perhaps model the Mona Lisa ready, which is sitting up straight, eyes on teacher, quiet smiles, and still hands. And of course, we don't expect our students to always be in scholarly mode, but if we approach it sort of like code switching and teach our students when they need to be on in scholarly mode and when they can relax. Then also for some of my students with autism, I'm using puppets as well. All right. Today I talked to the foot. One of my students had a big foot in the screen, but I missed that. I didn't get the picture, but I got the picture of the lampshade one when I was talking to the lampshade. Then there's the rocking chair, and then you have some students who are walking around the house with their laptops. Oh, that's so much fun. All right, here's a little funny meme for you. When a student tries to get away with behaving in class the way they behave at home, ha 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 ha, you have no power here. All right, so your ticket out the door. Think, pair, share with a colleague about virtual behaviors that you are noticing and can work on together. Here's Bill Murray, designer plus developer. You are a unicorn. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for letting me share some of my reflections with you. Take care. Bye.